16. Generosity and parsimony. So, starting with the first of the qualities I enumerated above, I say it would be splendid if one had a reputation for generosity. Nonetheless, if you do in fact earn a reputation for generosity, you will come to grief. This is because your generosity is good and sincere. It may pass unnoticed, and it will not save you from being reproached for its opposite. If you want to sustain a reputation for generosity, therefore, you have to be ostentatiously lavish, and a prince acting in that fashion will soon squander all his resources, only to be forced in the end, if he wants to maintain his reputation, to lay excessive burdens on the people, to impose extortionate taxes, and to do everything else he can to raise money. This will start to make his subjects hate him, and, since he will have impoverished himself, he will be generally despised. As a result, because of this generosity of his, having injured many and rewarded a few, he will be vulnerable to the first minor setback, and the first real danger he encounters will bring him to grief. When he realizes this and tries to retrace his path, he will immediately be reputed a miser. So because a prince cannot practice the virtue of generosity in such a way that he is noted for it, except to his cost, he should, if he is prudent, not mind being called a miser. In time he will be recognized as being essentially a generous man, seeing that because of his parsimony, his existing revenues are enough for him. He can defend himself against an aggressor, and he can embark on campaigns without burdening the people. So he proves himself generous to all those from whom he takes nothing, and they are innumerable, and miserly towards all those to whom he gives nothing, and they are few. In our own times great things have been accomplished only by those who have been held miserly, and the others have met disaster. Pope Julius II made use of a reputation for generosity to win the papacy, but subsequently he made no effort to maintain this reputation, because he wanted to be able to finance his wars. The present King of France has been able to wage so many wars without taxing his subjects excessively, only because his long-standing parsimony enabled him to meet the additional expenses involved. Were the present King of Spain renowned for his generosity, he would not have started and successfully concluded so many enterprises. So a prince must think little of it if he incurs the name of miser, so as not to rob his subjects, to be able to defend himself, not to become poor and despicable, not to be forced to grow rapacious. Miserliness is one of those vices which can sustain his rule. Someone may object, Caesar came to power by virtue of his generosity, and many others, because they practiced and were known for their generosity, have risen to the very highest positions. My answer to this is as follows. Either you are already a prince, or you are on the way to becoming one. In the first case, your generosity will be to your cost. In the second, it is certainly necessary to have a reputation for generosity. Caesar was one of those who wanted to establish his rule over Rome, but if, after he had established it, he had remained alive and not moderated his expenditure, he would have fallen from power. Again, someone may retort, there have been many princes who have won great successes with their armies, and who have had the reputation of being extremely generous. My reply to this is, the prince gives away what is his own or his subjects, or else what belongs to others. In the first case, he should be frugal. In the second, he should indulge his generosity to the full. The prince who campaigns with his armies, who lives by pillaging, sacking, and extortion, disposes of what belongs to aliens, and he must be open-handed. Otherwise, the soldiers would refuse to follow him. And you can be more liberal with what does not belong to you or your subjects, as Caesar, Cyrus, and Alexander were. Giving away what belongs to strangers in no way affects your standing at home. Rather, it increases it. You hurt yourself only when you give away what is your own. There is nothing so self-defeating as generosity. In the act of practicing it, you lose the ability to do so, and you become either poor and despised, or, seeking to escape poverty, rapacious and hated. A prince must try to avoid above all else being despised and hated, and generosity results in your being both. Therefore it is wiser to incur the reputation of being a miser, which brings forth ignominy, but not hatred, than being forced by seeking a name for generosity to incur a reputation for rapacity, which brings you hatred as well as ignominy.